What is up, guys? How are you doing? Welcome to my video today. We have some awesome news. We're going to be talking about Fact Fiction signing with the Houston Outlaws, how that's going to impact him and the team and the rest of the league. And as well as that, we're going to be talking about some of the other contenders teams that have been announced, the ones that aren't academy teams, outside organizations like Simplicity Gaming, the Montreal Grizzlies, and some other news, even a little bit about trials. So let's go ahead and hop into this video, guys. Be sure if you enjoy my channel, you love Overwatch League and Overwatch news in general, you can stay up to date watching my videos every single day. You'll never miss anything. Be sure to drop that subscription as well as like all my videos. And I do appreciate all your support, guys. Let's go ahead and hop into it. Starting off with the Fact Fiction deal. So Fact Fiction was announced today to be joining the Houston Outlaws. I was surprised to see an actual full announcement of the player joining the team rather than it being leaked by somebody from ESPN this time. What the GM of the Houston Outlaws, Flame, said about the whole situation, he said this on a Reddit thread. If people are wondering how this was kept a secret for so long, it was very low-key and happened pretty fast. The team decided a week or two ago we wanted him, and then the paperwork was done and over with within a few days. To Slasher's credit, he did message me for a comment on the breaking story, so I had our social media team crank out the announcement to beat the league. Our content teams are the real MVP. So it seems like ESPN was on their trail, they knew about it, but the Houston Outlaws went ahead and pushed it out as quick as possible because they wanted to beat the league. So that's pretty cool. And I'm actually really happy for Fact Fiction. He was a player that a lot of people were very surprised that he wasn't in the league. And then people were really surprised when he wasn't announced for any of the academy teams. I did have a feeling that a deal was being worked up for him, but I wasn't too sure. And now we have the full confirmation. He will be joining the Houston Outlaws. And for the Houston Outlaws, this is a great pickup. Fact Fiction has a lot of experience. So for some of you guys who don't know much about Fact Fiction, I'll go ahead and give you guys a little bit of a history lesson. Fact Fiction has been around the scene for a very long time. He is most known for competing with the FaZe Clan roster for over a year, competing in basically every major event in North America, from every single LAN, Overwatch Contender Season 0, Season 1, all the monthly melees, pits, rumbles, all that stuff. He competed in all of it. He also competed in the Overwatch World Cup with Team USA, where they had a very close match against South Korea. And honestly, they could have very easily taken that set if they just made a few less mistakes. But regardless, Fact Fiction is a very strong player. Like I said, a lot of people were wondering why he wasn't in the league or academy teams. So this makes a lot of sense for the Houston Outlaws to want to get him. He has the experience, and he might not get a lot of playtime because Muma is really good and he's been performing at a very high level. But still, it's a smart move because I've been telling you guys for a while now, all these Overwatch League teams that have bench players and subs aren't just a waste of a player or a waste of money. They are doing stuff for these teams, whether it is a player analyst role, player coach role, one-on-one coaching with their starter. Like, Fact Fiction and Muma are going to literally learn off of each other. They're going to work hard and they're going to improve each other. And whether Fact Fiction or Muma plays, it is a win for the other person as long as they win. That's the nature of the league. It's similar to real sports now. It's the most optimal way to win. Look at the team that won the whole thing. They're one of the only teams who have 12 people on their roster. They have said that they are doing in-house scrims, and you know those are helping a lot. So this is definitely a smart move from the Houston Outlaws. This puts their roster at 11 people. They have 2 main tanks, 4 DPS, 2 flex tanks, and 3 support players. Now all they're missing is a 4th support player, and they can go out there and play 6-on-6 scrims. What's also nice about picking up Fact Fiction, he does have prior experience with a lot of the players on the team. He has experience competing with Raucus, Coolmat, and Jake during their World Cup run. And I can definitely tell you guys, they practiced a lot together. I personally played against them so many scrims when I was on Congarna. I'd say we'd play them at least 4 blocks a week. They were a very good team, and you could tell by their performance against South Korea, they almost took it all. And then he also played with Spree and Raucus during his run on FaZe for a while, during Contender Season 1 and Season 0. So this basically goes off of the persona of the Houston Outlaws and how they built their team on previous past experience. They picked up a full team of 5 from FNRGFE's roster, then they went and picked up 3 players who played on Team USA, along with 2 players who played on FaZe together. So altogether, they had 8 players who had previous experience together, whether it was on FaZe, FNRGFE, or Team USA. And now, they're bringing in Fact Fiction, who competed on Team USA with Raucus, Coolmat, and Jake, and then he competed on FaZe with Raucus and Spree. So Fact Fiction has a ton of experience competing with players who were on this team, which is the main reason I believe that the Houston Outlaws went for him. Yeah, he's a good main tank and he'll provide a lot of gameplay and experience to the team, but he also has that raw experience competing with the players, and they know him as a teammate, which is very good. So overall, this is a very nice pickup for the Houston Outlaws. It is a great team for Fact Fiction to join, probably one of the best. And I think we can all agree that Houston Outlaws is the #1 Western team right now. They did beat Boston in that tiebreaker game where pretty much all of it was up for grabs. Who was the best Western team? They took it down. And going on from here, I think they really are a competitor for the overall playoffs in the championship. Maybe they won't win the whole thing, but there is a chance they could make it to the playoffs and upset some of the top teams in the league. They have some really damn good players, and their core 6 is very strong, which is something else I want to talk about. Sure, they're bringing in Fact Fiction, and who knows, maybe he'll play a lot, maybe he won't play at all. But I am going to guess that he probably won't play much because Houston Outlaws has come out and said that they do like playing that core 6. And to be fair, the core 6 is very strong. That core 6 is Linkser, Jake, Muma, Coolmat, Bonnie, Raucus, and Boink sometimes comes in for Koth. And that roster is very good, so Fact Fiction might not get much playtime unless he can really prove that he is a better player than Muma in either inner scrims or just practice in general. Maybe they could start flexing around and doing different types of rosters. I doubt they will because Stage 1 went very well for them though. But at the end of the day, I am very happy that they have 2 main tanks now. This will only help Muma improve more. So I think this pickup does nothing but help the Houston Outlaws improve. And that's basically it for that news. If you guys have any more questions about either Fact Fiction, the Houston Outlaws, or the Still, feel free to leave it down in the comments. I'll do my best to reply to everything. And let's go ahead and move on to the next thing I want to talk about, which is the Overwatch Contenders. In my video yesterday, I showed you guys all of the Academy Contenders teams rosters that were leaked. And now today, all of the other Contenders teams, whether it's an outside organization who isn't working with Blizzard, all of those teams got announced. So I'll be telling you guys the players for those teams. And I also want to talk about how some of the teams are running off of different names. Really interesting. And then lastly, we're going to be talking about Contenders Trials, which is coming up. So let's go ahead and hop into it. Let's go ahead and start off with a team we did not talk about yesterday, who is an outside organization, Envision. They got their spot from competing in Season 1, they placed top 4, and got an auto berth into Season 2. Their roster is going to be iShiny, McGravy, Buds, Jaru, Crimzo, and Fire. They got some really good new faces like iShiny, who competed with CLG, Buds, who competed with FNRGFE, and then Crimzo, who played under Kungarna. I do expect big things out of this roster. I think they'll do very well in Season 2. Now moving on to one of the Academy teams that we actually didn't talk about yesterday, which is Fusion University. Their roster is going to be Elk, Alarm, Kraken Lakin, Zerg, Beast Halo, Zachary, and Who Are You? These guys have a very strong roster. I definitely think they'll be one of the best teams in Contenders. Who Are You is just absolutely amazing. My team has been playing against them a lot, and these guys, trust me, are very good. Moving on to the Gladiators team that we talked about yesterday, they're going to be going under the name as Gladiators Legion. We already know their roster, so we're going to move on to the Grizzlies. So the Grizzlies is part of Montreal eSports, and they bought the Contender slot off of Rogue. Their roster is going to be Pag H, PAGH, he plays main tank, as well as Wonderfuls on main tank. Then they have Spirit and Zapri on DPS. Their supports are Dahoon, Blam, and Athan, and lastly their flex tank is Graceful. I have seen them in scrims. They're doing pretty well. An interesting team to look out for. I'd have to say they're a wild card going into Contenders. And moving on to the next team, we have the San Francisco spot, where they're going under their old organization name, NRG eSports. And moving on to the Houston Outlaws spot, who are actually doing a mixture of their old organization and the Academy. So they're going to be going under Optic Academy. Now moving on to the next team, which is Simplicity, who is another outside organization that bought their spot off of FNRGFE. Their roster is going to be DPS, which is a player, he plays main tank, and their actual DPS players are going to be KSF, Xretzy. As for supports, it's Faz, Ginger Pop, and lastly the flex tank is Zombs. The Boston Uprising Academy team is going to go under the name Toronto Esports, so very interesting there. Along with Optic and NRG, they're opting to use their old names, maybe because they want to double down on their followings. They want to build their original organization's followings under Overwatch, as well as their Overwatch League teams. And lastly, we have XL2 Academy, which is the New York Excelsior's Contender team. I do like their name. I think it's one of the coolest ones, and the roster, as I said yesterday, is stacked. So those are all of the Contenders teams. I just wanted to go over those real quick, introduce the teams that I haven't yet, and let you guys know what the official names are going to be. Now, FaZe was actually supposed to have a spot in Overwatch Contenders. They were a top 2 team last season, but they did forfeit their spot by not fielding a roster or selling it to another organization. So there are now 2 spots open for Contenders Trials. So speaking of trials, let's go ahead and talk about that a little bit. The way to get into Contenders is through Contenders Trials. So the top 6 teams from the last open season will be competing with the 2 worst teams from the last Contender season. So Kungarna and Renegades received an automatic invite into Contenders Trials, as well as the top 6 teams from the last open season, which are Last Night's Leftovers, No Clout, One of Us, Bunny Blasters, Fractal Esports, WBC Sky. All 8 of these teams are going to compete over the next few weeks to decide who the top 2 teams are. Then they will move on to the official Contenders League. So this is pretty much the path to pro that Blizzard has been talking about. I will leave all links down in the description if you guys have any questions. The links for Overwatch Contenders, Overwatch Trials will all be down there. Also, ask me down in the comments. I'll do my best to respond to anything and everything you guys ask. And please do, if you haven't already, consider subscribing to my channel, guys. I make Overwatch videos every single day. Sometimes I make 2 or more, whether it's news, updates on the league, contenders, trials, everything, predictions, what ifs, top 10 list, everything. We do so much on this channel, guys. If you love the Overwatch League, please subscribe. Go ahead and like the video. Follow me on all my social medias, Twitter, Instagram, add me on Snapchat. You can see behind the scenes live updates to my videos and my real life. And once again, guys, thank you for watching. I'm out of here. Peace.